Hello and welcome to Bravo Outsider Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Midwinter. Joining me, as always, is Dylan Ferguson. Dylan, how's it going?
Pretty good. Keeping my chin up. Mostly because I just got a new haircut and I hate it. So I'm trying to avoid everybody seeing my scalp. I don't know if you guys, maybe you can relate, Rory, because you've got glasses. But if you go to the barbershop with glasses on and you take them off, and then when it's done and you got to put them back on, you've just your life's been in that person's hands for the whole time. And and if they didn't do what you fucking told them to, and they disrespected the intricacies of male pattern baldness, you'll be furious and happy that they're the ones holding the scissors when you put those glasses back on. Because
my favorite part of that whole interaction is that during the haircut, they're like, "And how's this on the sides?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I can't
fucking
tell."
know. Yeah. This guy took off way too much. It's like it leaves nothing to the imagination. Ladies, I'll just lean down for all my scalp sluts out there. Take a look. You can see my thoughts.
Well, that voice you hear might sound familiar. He has been on our podcast a few times. One of our favorite outsiders. It's Rory Fallis.
Back again.
That's really good. I really want a housewife to do a tagline that's just that.
It's the Alyssa Edwards special from All Stars season 2, episode 5.
Oh, right, because you're big into RuPaul's Drag Race.
Big into RuPaul, so I got some overlap this week.
Yeah, Salt Lake City. We got Trixie Mattel on. Were any of these? Let's just get started with Salt Lake City. I think there's so much here to cover. Before we get into the highlights, though, one thing that we like to do every time we start a new season is go through the taglines. The first week that this was back, we didn't get to do that because we got that amazing intro with the Bible verses instead of the taglines.
Right.
And then the last week we just forgot about it. So
yeah, I forgot. We totally just glossed over that, and that's my favorite thing. And I've totally thank you for remembering, Craig.
So better late than never. Let's get into the rating of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City taglines. I'm going to start with Angie's, who is "I may be Greek, but don't expect an olive branch from me."
That's all right. I mean, it's Yeah. I mean, the fact that she's Greek is like one of the only things we know about her. So she's got one thing to work with, and you get the olive branch reference. It's fine. It's like a solid B-.
Yeah.
That's all I gleaned from the episode too. Was Greek, huge sunglasses. Those are the two things I know about Angie.
I think that this is a solid B for me. I do like it when a housewife has the awareness to realize that they've got one thing going on for them and include it in the intro. There was a one and done housewife on Real Housewives of New York in season 8 or season 9, I think, Jules, who was constantly talking about how she is like half Jewish and half Asian, and her tagline was like, "A Jew and an Asian walk into a bar and they had me." And that was like
that's really good, actually.
Yeah. that was her only thing that season. So I appreciate the self-awareness. Next we'll go with Lisa. "I'm on a mission to serve Lisa," and I love that for myself.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think the mission thing is maybe like a Mormon reference, probably, because we're talking about, they've been talking this episode about going on a mission, which means knocking on doors and being a dork. But it sounds epic, and that the fact that it's just like, I love myself. That's it.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's just an ego flex. Sure, I'll give it an A-.
Rory, how about you?
I like the wordplay in the first half, but I think it falls off with, and I love that for myself. It's like I could have stuck the landing a bit better than that.
Yeah, it's maybe adding too much. You had a thing going and then you tried to add another thing to it. You could have kept it simpler. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I would put it at a A-, B+, A-. I think that maybe the end is not that great. There's better taglines in this group, so we'll give it an A-. Heather's is, I own a beauty empire, so I don't need any of your lip service.
I'm not sure about that one. Like I'm not sure that the joke is really coming off for me. Like lip service, I guess. Like you're servicing lips. Is that the double play? Like when you go to a beauty salon, your lips get serviced. I don't know. I'm not too sure I understand it. Maybe.
Yeah,
Not having a beauty empire myself, I might be a little in the dark.
Rory?
It just feels like the plugs are getting underway immediately in the taglines. Like, here's my side business. That's what I'm going for. Buy my makeup.
I'll go C+.
Yeah.
I think that this is like, I think it's overall kind of a weak tagline, but I'm surprised that she's not pushing her book. Like I would have expected some sort of like bad Mormon book like tie-in. So
Right.
yeah, this is about a C for me. Next we've got Whitney. Having faith in myself is the only religion I need.
I don't like it. Okay, so she's not a Mormon anymore. Having faith in myself isn't the kind of like strong flex as like I'm on a mission for myself, and I love that for me. Like she's not going hard enough into embracing the egotism. I think it's too it's too much of like limp-wristed egotism. So I'll give it a C.
This is the one who's younger, correct? She's a bit younger than the other ones.
I'm not sure if she's young. She's got a baby voice. Like,
oh, okay. Maybe that's why. Yeah, maybe she
baby
just
voice,
seems
big
younger.
forehead. That one.
But she's the one with like who talked about having 4 kids, right? Like, I don't know. She doesn't have kids. No,
or she's got like stepchildren, I think.
Okay, I'm getting lost. I'm getting confused, which is a big problem with me on these shows. Is who is who? I don't know. I don't have the strong opposition to it as much. I think it's simple and to the point. It doesn't try and put an extra button on the end of it. So I think it's decent, but maybe not memorable long term.
Yeah, I think this one's okay. I'm gonna go with a C as well. I feel like maybe there's something in here that is supposed to like tie into like an attack with Mary in some way, because I know that like Mary is like a cult leader, right? She's got a church that she is a cult basically.
I did not know that, but that's awesome.
I love that.
That's amazing context. Holy shit.
Yeah, Mary has one of my favorite taglines, which is like, "Come for me and I'll send Jesus after you," which is like a brilliant tagline. I don't think you can top that. But yeah, I feel like maybe this is trying to throw something in Mary's face, but Mary's a friend of this season. She doesn't have a tagline. It's kind of not clear that that's what this is supposed to be. So C- is what I'm going to give it. Monica, I keep my friends close, but my secret's closer.
Pretty basic to me. Yeah, pretty basic. Yeah, that's like a D+. It seems like just like a template.
Yeah,
like there's nothing personal has been added to it.
Yeah, I think that this is a weak tagline from someone who has been having a strong rookie season as a host. It's a little like underwhelming for a tagline.
Yeah, it's completely unremarkable. Nothing good there.
Unless something like explosive happens later in the season with the secrets that she is apparently holding for Jen Shaw. But this has got to be a D. Okay, and finally we've got Meredith. In a town full of dirty lies, everyone can use a bath.
I kind of like it. It's always good to have an image in there, and just the image of the dirty bathtub, which was referenced in the first episode, is a great one. The bathtub full of DNA. It makes me laugh. Yeah, we'll give it an A down the middle.
Yeah, I like this one. This is it's very evocative. There's lots of stuff going on there, referencing the town, which seems to more so than any of the other series I've watched. Like the fact that they're from Salt Lake City seems to influence a lot of what's going on. Like their dynamic more so than some of the other ones. So yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, this is an A for me as well. This is the best one in the group as far as I'm concerned. I love the call out to the rumor or the like the dig about the bath. This is A plus material for me.
What's the rumor about a bath?
Well, so Meredith and her husband apparently bathed together.
Okay.
And Whitney came on a podcast or on some sort of press tour, was saying that she thinks it's dirty or something to that effect. It was just like sparked a beef with them in the off season that bled into the early season, the episode 1 of the season.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good. I like that.
Let's get right into the episode. Rory, what were your initial thoughts on this?
Well, my initial thought was, holy shit, it's Trixie Mattel.
Yeah.
What is going on? I like, from doing this podcast before, and actually I watched this one second. I watched Orange County first and then this one. So I'm getting pretty used to the hotel resort plugs. Product placement seems to be pretty present most of the time. So I did like that it was Trixie Mattel, and I thought Trixie was playing the role perfectly. Like, Trixie knows her branding and is like aware of what she's doing, just selling rooms at this hotel, is involved in the conversation with them, but also has that detached, like, I don't know what you're talking about kind of vibe, which is was a nice surrogate for me, where I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's always cool that when it's like celebrities have like a branded product that's just a pun on their name.
Yeah.
But to like take your pun to the point where you're buying a whole property and like just to milk one pun, I respect that so much.
It puts you in the same class as like Mark Wahlberg, who has the Wahlburger.
Exactly.
This I mean, I'm sure we'll get to it, but Mary is just like a great reality show character. I think Mary is like the standout on this show for me. There's two of them. I think it's Meredith and Lisa, who I had a hard time telling apart, and it took me most of the episode to be like, okay, which one's which?
Fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, those are my first impressions.
Okay, you brought up Mary. I want to play two
Please.
truths and a lie here. Okay. Okay. So let me think. One is Mary is married to her own step grandfather. Mary is married to Bill Cosby's brother, and Mary is a cult leader.
Oh my God.
You gave us one of those already, right?
Yeah, I know I did.
Which I didn't know, and I'm delighted by the information.
Oh man.
Is she creating like a sectarian schism within the Mormon church? Is she like the Martin Luther of Mormons?
No, I think it's like a Baptist style church, yeah.
Okay.
Man. Okay, I think the lie is that she's married to her own, what was it? Her own
step grandfather.
Okay, I think that's the lie.
Okay, well, they're all true. That's
How old is the man she's married to?
He's like older. Like, she's not super young herself, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and he's God. Bill Cosby's brother. So
what?
What a remarkable woman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She can do it all.
Yeah.
Sorry for the digression. Continue with your highlights.
I mean,
try to top that.
Yeah, really. I loved when Mary went on the tangent about her bird, when birds came up in the like conversation of things they liked. I can't remember what the context was. It was just like, I like poems, I like birds, and then she cuts to her confessional and she's like, I had a bird once, wanted me to stare at it and it wouldn't obey.
That was so amazing. This African gray just wanted me to stare stare at it all the time.
I wonder what happened to that bird too, because don't parrots live for like 80 years?
Yeah.
Like you have to put your parrot in your will. Usually, you pass them down.
Yeah, it didn't.
Oh, no.
She did not let that thing live. She
No.
she finished it off.
Oh man. Just a quick note that I made is that the thought of an espresso martini with an añejo tequila really offended me. I was not thrilled with that. And when they went shopping for their outfits, it seemed like they were in, or it was supposed to seem like they're in like thrift stores, but they were fully costume shops, right? Like these were rental costume shops.
I really thought these outfits were like amazing. They like, it was so ridiculous to see them like show up together in a line, and everyone was like dressed for some other bizarre event. And I loved how like uncomfortable Lisa Barlow was wearing hers going to this fancy restaurant. I think it just like is so in line with her character, and I just really appreciate that sort of vibe.
It was really funny how at one point Heather is like saying what she appreciates about Lisa, and she's like, "Yeah, you've been such a great sport about this." Yeah. and Lisa's giving a confessional where she's like, "Obviously, Meredith hates me."
I think that like there's been a lot of commentary on these outfits, but Heather's has not been dissected as much as the other women. It's more subtle.
Heather looks good. I think it's a great look for her. She's the one who rocks it, I think.
And
Monica. They're the two ones who look good to me.
Was Heather's the big like 90s jacket?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the baseball cap with like rhinestones that said Cat Mom on it.
Mom.
I thought she was rocking it.
Yeah, I was going to look for this hat online so I could get one for myself. I found one. If anyone else is interested, you can get it at Lil Monkey Women's Boutique in Waco, Texas. So if we've got any listeners out there that want to make the trip and send it, I'll pay for the postage and the item. Just like go and grab me one and send me a DM.
My favorite look was I think Monica's as well. I thought the blinged out pearl blazer was like the best of all the looks. It's like that's a thing someone would wear. Yeah,
she was wearing that well. The funniest one to me was Whitney's, because like Heather just dressed Whitney like a Barbie doll, just putting like a stupid fucking like I don't know, Kentucky Derby hat on her and shit.
What did she say? She was like, "I'm Kate Middleton up top and a lab tech on the bottom."
Yeah, that was a good line. Great activity, though. Really.
So activity. Good. One of my favorite parts was that as Meredith got drunk and they called out her British accent, because I was like, "What? What is happening here?" Like, it's not quite a slur. It is like when someone who's from England or Australia or whatever, and then gets a couple drinks in them and their accent really starts to come out. It was like
someone who suffers from Englishness.
It reminded me of like when you have a friend that goes away for like 6 months to like England and then comes back and like really forces the accent, like so changed by the experience they need to like manifest it in some physical way and start busting out the accent when they're drinking. I love it.
Yeah, it is so funny when somebody gets so angry. It's like they're inventing how to pronounce words on the spot. Like they just forget how they usually speak and just starts talking like Lisa Vanderpump for some reason.
And it was like she was drowning during that conversation, like grasping for anything that can give her the upper hand, even if it's an English accent. Like that's what she's going to use for leverage.
I think the only thing for me that seemed to be playing out over this episode was I was like, is Mary playing that she's clueless, or is that her game to actually kind of like move storylines along, have her own screen time, whatever, set these dramas in motion. Because it's like initial thoughts are like, wow, this woman is clueless. But then it's like, is she though? And then the bird conversation comes along and I'm like, no, yeah, she is for sure.
Yeah. I think it's Ernest. I think she is kind of like clueless or out to lunch or more so apathetic and not paying attention to things. And then, when she needs, it's like, oh, what? Who are you?
Yeah. What I love about Mary's presence in this group is that she's the one who is completely uninterested in being friends with anybody, it seems. Like she's not trying to make friends with anybody. She doesn't seem to want to be friends with anybody here. And that's just such a great dynamic to just have one person who is just like, I don't really give a shit about any of you and would rather you didn't talk to me.
Yeah. Don't ask me that. I'm not coming to sit over there.
Yeah. I'll sit at a respectable distance and eat a sandwich and glare at you. It's the best I have.
Now, the one question I have is, was it Meredith kept referencing like a child who is going to be disabled? Is that something we know?
No.
Or is that we don't? Okay.
No,
I didn't think so, but I was like, what is happening?
That was so great. When she gets angry, she turns English and just starts saying things like a child is going to be disabled for the rest of their life. Oh my God.
She like morphs into like a Dickens character or something. Did you have any other highlights, Rory?
No, that was all of the ones that I had written down. Other than I had written down stuff about like, oh my God, this fucking ring, but then it pays off with like the ring count at the end was like, okay, good. There's a reason. There's a reason she's referencing this goddamn ring so much.
Dylan, what were your highlights?
The whole thing. And this was a great episode. Loved it. Absolute killer 5-star episode. Just a great example of having a bunch of interesting characters put in a room together and make them get each other angry around the table is just, this is like classic Housewives shit. I love Meredith getting more and more worked up and becoming an ice queen with Angie to the point where Angie just goes off her ramp and then just gets it just starts going off on her. Heather goes off for a bit too, which is great, and then Heather just continues to get drunker and drunker off of tequila espresso martinis, which is a terrible idea, as we see. But then for the rest of it too, that everybody's bringing their own dynamic into this discussion, which is great. But what I love how the role that Heather settles into is that she just becomes like the Housewives fan, just watching them and just laughing at them and just like sitting back, just like gasping and giggling. And that was so funny for me. It's just so great. It's so great to have one person who's just gotten drunk enough that they just disconnect and they're just a spectator, just watching them like they're on TV. Total delight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the best Housewife episodes that I've seen in a long time. Like self-contained, it just so many notes. It was just so entertaining. The initial scene where they arrive in Palm Springs at the Trixie Motel and we get the reveal that Angie is there uninvited is just like such beautiful tension throughout that scene where Meredith can't figure out how she wants to acknowledge the situation and how like just really struggling how to socialize in that situation. I just thought it was amazing. And to watch everyone kind of scurry around and adjust to this new dynamic that was completely unexpected after a long, like stressful travel day was amazing to me.
Yeah, for sure. Also, shout out to Mary saying to Whitney, "You called me a pornography."
Yes.
Whitney's just kind of stunned for a second, like, what's she trying to say? I don't think anybody has ever called anybody a pornography.
Just try to clarify, like, I didn't say you do pornography.
There was a moment in this like Palm Springs arrival. It was shortly after everyone gets their rooms, which I thought was amazing that Angie and Whitney selected their rooms before anyone else could.
Mm-hmm.
That was brilliant. and Heather calls it like an act of war. And like I in Housewives, yeah, that's an act of war, but this trip is more than that. Like the way that they're conducting themselves, this is kaiju. This is like a big two like monsters coming in and destroying the city that is this trip, and getting to watch like pure destruction and chaos. It is absolutely brilliant to watch. I love that we get in the preview for next week, we get to see that this is going to continue, and Whitney is going to actually take over the planning of group activities, which is always the host's role. It's just such an overstep, and I think this is just so beautiful to watch.
Totally.
Any other highlights from you guys on Salt Lake City?
I mean, the puking at the end was like just the perfect button to it, and that poor van driver was just like plastering on that smile of like,
yeah.
And that was pee at the end, right? Like,
was it?
Heather was peeing, right?
Kind of looked like it, yeah.
Oh man, I didn't know that. I thought it was just puke leaking out of the bag.
No, I think it's that and pee. I'm pretty sure. I do want to just say, like, I think that Whitney's conduct at this dinner was amazing. I loved, throwing out a game, like, let's play a game. Let's like say something about yourself that will shock the group, like trying to stir something up, and it doesn't really work. Everyone gives like the lamest answers possible. And then she's like, okay, well, let's play another game because that didn't stir shit up the way that I wanted.
And well, quick little shout out to Monica, who's been like, I was fucking my stepbrother.
And then they clarify which version of brother-in-law.
Yeah. But yeah, then Whitney's second game, Warm and Fuzzy and Cold and Prickly, is just so transparently like, let's stir shit up. It was amazing.
I love Housewives games because it's always trying to find a slightly different way to be like, let's go around the table and say something mean about each other.
Yeah. And doesn't she preface it with saying like, I want to cool the tensions? That last game it got everyone too riled up.
And then like Angie like has to like one up it, and like, I'm gonna do a toast because Greeks love to give toasts. And she's mentioned like being Greek as many times as Lisa has mentioned her ring. And then she's like, at home we do a Greek word of the day, and that word is fake. It encompasses my feelings on this trip. And just really had to like ignite the fuse.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you guys have no other thoughts, let's move on. What would you like to talk about next, Rory?
I could do either. We could do either one. Let's do, you want to do Orange County?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay.
What were your highlights there?
My highlights there were when somebody called someone else Snuffleupagus. I thought that was great, but in a good way. I said it in a good way. And the whole conversation of happy ending massages being like kind of a running arc for the episode was a nice touch.
I was trying to figure out what Vicki was talking about, like putting your foot in there and getting someone to do a foot rub, or is it like a signal? I
thought it was a signal that because she was like, you put both your feet up, and then that's like the sign. It's like a secret handshake for the massage therapist, which is like, I don't think that's the secret handshake.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine.
She seems to know what she's talking about, though. I mean, she's done this before, right?
Yeah. I found Vicki's a friend of, right? Like,
yeah, she's a friend of this season, but she was on she's been on Real Housewives of Orange County since the very beginning.
Oh, but so she was a full housewife before?
She used to be. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, because my impression was that she was like newer, maybe, and like really trying hard to shift focus to like make situations about her, and I found it a little annoying. I found Vicki pretty annoying overall. So I'm surprised.
I think you're not alone in finding Vicki annoying. I think a lot of people do. I think she's brilliant. I also think that she's annoying, but I think like that adds to her brilliance and her effectiveness. So I thought it was amazing. She is so like unapologetically like hypocritical and just like a liar and a shitster. I think it's amazing and like overall mostly harmless. Like I think that she's just such an eccentric character that I
eccentric
love.
Is the word for it. Especially her delivery. She just barks out every line like a consumption patient cutting somebody out of their will. She has such amazing delivery.
She is like a caricature of herself, and that's that's it. And I really love that she's so transparent about what she's doing. Like she's just there to like cause problems and stir shit up, and like she's doing Tamra's bidding and everyone knows it, but it's enough of a deflection that Tamra is able to deflect the heat. She doesn't take a lot of heat. She's already good at deflecting the heat, but now she's got Vicki to also be this additional shield. She comes off like very scot-free in this situation.
Yeah, my favorite moment was the Vicki moment when she just like they're talking about parasailing and she randomly starts throwing out this story about this parasailer outside her house who got cut off and was stuck in the air and then ended up caught on the rooftop of a building. It was just like,
and they couldn't get her down.
And then everybody's like, okay, anyways. I love
my favorite Vicki moment was when she got up to leave I don't think it was dinner. I think it was drinks at that point. Got up to leave and was talking to the waiter who clearly did not understand a fucking word she was saying.
Yeah.
Going out apologizing and then additionally saying it's very hard for me to be around people who are fighting, as though that has not been her job for the past 2 decades. And then we get the editor like a select few fights that Vicki has been directly involved in back to back.
I found even more so than Meredith and Lisa in Salt Lake City, I found Jen, Tamra, and Susan almost impossible to tell apart. And the fact that they were together and
Shannon?
Storyline. Is it Shannon?
Yeah.
Those three, I was like, wow, these women all look the same. And I don't know who's who and what their storyline is. Like that was tough to get in one episode. Who was who?
Oh, yeah. I think that Jen had one of my favorite moments in this episode. It was like she was talking to, I can't remember who she was talking to. It was probably like Shannon or something, saying, "Oh yeah, I've always wanted to see a shaman. Are you kidding me? I own a yoga studio." Oh yeah, are you kidding me? I've always wanted to appropriate that culture too.
I love the shaman, by the way. We've been blessed with a season with seeing so many fake doctors in Orange County, all variety of bullshit doctors, and not saying that shamans don't exist, but that this fucking Tommy Chong in a Sarat blowing into a conch shell was a sham shaman, and it was great. I love it. Like again, like I love these guys. I find that's so inspirational that there's all these guys catering to this industry, just following their dreams of being healers and doctors, not put off by social judgments or medical licenses or any of that bullshit. Plus, we get the little stinger at the end, which teases us that in the season finale, we're finally going to get to the final boss of fake doctors, a chiropractor. So looking forward to that.
But these guys are doing important jobs. They're keeping these people out of emergency rooms, keeping the weights down. So some respect is due.
For sure, tons of respect is due. They rule.
Dylan, what were your highlights from this?
Okay, Gina had a moment that was really just cute for me when they're talking about sea turtles, and she's like, "What did the turtles eat? Like salad?" And Tamara's like, "Seaweed," and she goes, "Lettuce." I just thought that was kind of adorable.
Do they eat seahorses?
Yeah. No. I think it's crazy how Tamra kind of just gets away with everything. Like she could just like, she's just so good at just like getting everybody pissed off and then immediately being like, oh, and I love you. And that's it. And then I'm just going to readjust the social configuration so everybody forgets about it.
Yeah.
That she was going so hard at the Jen. She was kind of wrapping it up too much against Jen, like really taking it hard on her. And Vicki too. Actually, speaking of Gina, that was probably the most that I've liked Gina so far is when Vicki was like, you have you had 5 kids, you had no right to end your marriage or whatever, and then Gina just like jumps in and is like you don't get to talk to her like that. You don't even fucking know her. Like,
yeah.
That was I mean, she's right. Like just because she had kids doesn't mean that she like isn't allowed to end a relationship. Like that's just that's a nasty way of thinking. I get that Vicki's coming from her own personal experience, but you can't apply your own personal experience to everybody else's life. I continue to really like Jen as a subject of discussion because she still continues to mostly like resist fighting back, even though we saw her kind of blow up a little bit at the end of the last episode, but then she kind of draws it back in. And that seems to be very important to her. We see her kind of sitting through these discussions and then cut to her like doing her yoga moves and being like, we're going to stand up tall. We're going to recenter. And it's kind of different to see somebody who doesn't just like on one of these shows, who doesn't just play lip service to the idea of being like, focusing on yourself and like being calm and stuff, but actually like does it. And the fact that she has that bit of a Sphinx-like quality to her where she doesn't want to engage too much, which makes her, as I've said before, a weird addition to the show, but I think makes her extra frustrating to Tamra.
Yeah,
because
true.
Tamra has to work that much harder to try to get her to blow up.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of effort from Tamra to try to get her to blow up because Jen's just really resistant to that.
Yeah, I'm coming around to like the impact that Jen is having on this dynamic making for good television and being interesting to watch. It's kind of like when you get like one of those toys for your cats or your dogs where you put the treat in the center so they have to like work for it a bit harder. It's nice to see that agitating element before, a little bit of payoff and a little bit of delayed gratification from, working hard at trying to crack her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I had a note here that like in the context of this one episode, I don't even fully understand why Jen and Tamra are like having a rift. Is it a boyfriend that someone said something about? Like, I don't even know from this one episode. So yeah, she's obviously playing her cards pretty close to the chest. Yeah,
they just think that her boyfriend is a dirtbag, and they're trying to use whatever they can to crack her because that's the purpose of the show.
And they're right. Like Ryan absolutely does have that history, and I'm sure he has cheated on her and will again. But I still think like the best line in the situation was Shannon's, where she was like, "Maybe Jen's stupid, but let her figure that out on her own. Like, let her live her own life."
I think we covered most of my thoughts on Orange County as well. I love the little gag from Heather when she's parasailing with Vicki, where she's like, just visualize Koto Insurance and you're at your desk with your Post-its. I don't know. I thought that was like a good just kind of read about like what is going to play well on TV, and I enjoyed it.
And then the overlay of like the person working in the office and a stapler. It was just like, oh yeah, that's good. I would just want to add my quote of the episode was "Onward and upward, Willy Wonka," and I was like, is that like an attribution? Like, it's Willy Wonka who said it, or are you calling her Willy Wonka? I didn't quite understand.
Let's talk about Real Housewives of New York. Rory, what did you think of this episode?
I liked this. I liked New York. My issues with the other two were not present in this one. Everyone had a very defined character. I did not get confused over who was who at all. The thing that kind of surprised me in two things about the bumper in between like commercial breaks was, one, I was like, oh, I think these 6 are just the 6 housewives. There's no friends of here on this trip, right? It's just the 6 of them. So that's cool. I liked that dynamic that they're, yeah, I mean, to a first-time viewer of this, they're all equal in that. Their status is the same. The other thing about the bumpers is there was no one palms up, 2 hands presenting me something, which I missed. I liked that in the other 2 shows, that there's the 2 palms, here's your snowflake, or here's your orange, or whatever. It was only one-handed, and I could use 2 palms.
That's what Vicki says at the end of her massage.
My one, I really actually enjoyed this. They felt the most aware of the characters that they are portraying of any of the 3 shows. Like, everyone felt very self-assured and this is my role on this show. The one complaint is that the drama of the show was way too drawn out for one episode of I pushed you in the pool, now I'm holding your phone, and we're gonna be mad about it for a full fucking hour. Is okay, maybe we're milking this one issue for a while. But I thought everyone played their parts really well. I also really liked Jenna's multiple confessional looks. I liked that she had costume changes. That was fun. And the one thing I came away with at the end was that when they were doing their favorite outfits of each other, calling out I really liked this and that, they felt like real friends. They more so than some of the other dynamics. They all genuinely felt like they liked each other, and that was kind of a real moment of things people would do where it's I like that,
Yeah, I think that is something that we've been seeing this season quite a bit. Because these are all brand new housewives. This is the first season for all of them because it's a reboot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're seeing them come together and get to know each other, and it seems like we're seeing a genuine connection forming, even if it's not going to be a deep, lasting friendship, but they're being bonded by this communal experience of all being on this reality show for the first time and figuring out what that means. So I think that is an interesting element that leads to moments like you said that feel very genuine. I love that too.
That's really surprising to me that this is the first season for all of them, because given how defined they all are, great job to the casting people then, because they really did a bang up job of putting these personalities and different people together. Because I really fully thought they're professional at it because it's season 12 or 11 or whatever it is, so that's why. But wow, a reboot, that's really surprising.
Yeah. The cast has been really delivering. I think they're all really great. I think Sai is who I've called out as being the weakest one, but even she is starting to bring a little bit more to the table. I don't know if it's going to be enough to come back. If there's one person that I see being replaced, it's probably her. But
over Jessel.
Oh, Jessel's a star. Are you kidding me?
I don't know. I thought this was a weak episode, despite her, being Al Pacino and pulling out her phone vault. I did think that she hasn't been showing enough personality. When she makes a little joke about escaping out of Diggy, then immediately says, "Guys, I'm funny." That's such a 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of move.
Yeah.
I think that some of the stuff that she has been some of the fights that she has been getting in and just being very reactive, but also endearing at times. I don't know. I feel like she's got a lot of dimension to her. So
True.
I really hope we continue to see her. I think she is one of these housewives that, is clearly not producing herself. There are a lot of housewives where they are very much self-producing, and you can see that they are constructing something for the camera, and she is the opposite of that. It's just she can't help but be authentic. She reminds me of Shannon in that way, who can't help how she comes across, except maybe a bit more villainous than Shannon typically is.
Yeah, I think on that note, it seems like Erin is the big producer of the season. And maybe that's just the narrative they're editing for, but like that's the vibe I got, is like Erin is trying to produce this dynamic.
Yeah, I feel that way about Erin as well. It feels very constructed. I've seen a lot of people criticize Brynn about that as well. I think that there's a degree of that at play, but I don't think more so than a lot of other housewives that we see that are super effective at this. One of the things that like we don't really tend to weigh into kind of the meta of what's going on in the fans, but
Yeah.
I've seen like this like opinion piece published on Reality T, which is a blog talking about like, oh, is Brynn's flirting too much? And there's like a lot more conversation that is happening surrounding like how she operates by flirting. And there's TikToks of people doing like weird impressions of her. And first off, leave the funny to Brynn. That's one thing that she said in her confessionals, which I agree, because they're not that good of an impression, and they're not that like funny in terms of content. But also like it's just weird to me that we have someone who is like been very transparent that they operate this way because they have been like socialized to do it, and they've been socialized to like flirt in order to create a safe space or be like playful and sexy. And that's how like she has learned, because she has had like a traumatic past, that's the safest way for her to operate and get ahead. And then for her to be so transparent about that, and then have people being like she's the problem, not like us as a society that has created this like environment where, that is all that she can do in order to survive, and that's how she's been conditioned, is just a really, I don't know, not a fun take. Like, I think like, criticize her for like specific incidents or like whatever, but to just like broadly be like, oh, Brynn, the way she's operating within society because she's been conditioned that way is wrong, and she's the problem, not the conditions that created that, is, I don't know, I don't love that dialogue, but that's just me.
No, yeah, that's because she was very upfront about it, like, and seemed quite self-aware of it in this episode, talking about it. So it's, yeah, why, I don't know. It would be hard pressed to find negativity in that. Like, yeah, maybe you don't like the results of the dynamics that come about. Like, it is a little over the top with her and Jenna, but also whatever. It's good TV at that point,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I think my bigger criticism of Brynn's like incessant flirtatiousness is that it's one note, is that it's like I would like to see more from her than just like playing that card constantly. She definitely does talk about why that's her personality in this episode, which is interesting, which is good, and it also informs her reaction to Ubah, which is like, Ubah, you're right, but she's so focused on the way Ubah presents her argument. She's like, it's your approach that's wrong, and I think that's really interesting, seeing how she's like, Brynn seems very hung up on it. It's like it's not the content of your attitude that matters. It's how you approach it. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. I think she even uses that metaphor, right?
Yeah.
Which is always a metaphor I hated, because like you're trying to kill the flies when you do that. You're not trying to make them friends with you.
Same here.
Yeah. But it is an interesting dynamic too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And very different from Ubah's perspective, because Ubah's perspective is like, this is how I feel. And fuck you if you disagree with the way that I'm presenting my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, we also got to see Ubah talking about, a dynamic of being considered an angry Black woman is something that she needs to be concerned about. And I feel like it was a little dismissed in this. We got the confessional from Sai being like, oh, I don't know that applies, but it does apply. Like, she's on TV reacting to a situation. Like, it's completely relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Rory, do you have any other highlights for New York?
Well, I did like Jenna's interactions I liked everyone's interactions with the staff at the villa, but Jenna's in particular were a lot of fun, talking about the brownies and, and him reading her a story to put her to sleep. I thought was like, this is a fun aside.
Yeah, I've really liked watching Jenna on this trip and like kind of comparing it to the previous trip to the Hamptons and how she's still trying to feel out what a girls trip is, because she has said she doesn't have experience being in these situations where she's going on girls trip and she doesn't know the etiquette. And I think that her interactions that we're seeing with the staff are a little bit of her kind of retreating into a dynamic that feels a lot safer for her than to be like opening up to the rest of the women who are her like peers on this trip.
Right.
But yeah, I think like she's so charismatic and likable. I also love those moments.
Yeah, I think she successfully charmed the resort staff there, and they're absolutely going to make sure they make brownies.
Yeah,
for that dinner after that. More successfully than Ubah when she walks into the restaurant and she's like, "The party is here," and the server's like, oh, "Okay, thank you. This way."
Or like Sai going to the beach bar and being like, "Can I bartend?" Like, tourists coming to like bartend is just such a like. Oh, it makes me shiver thinking.
She's a pro though. In her defense, she's a pro.
It was so like it felt so contrived to be like, I have all these pictures and we're gonna insert it now. Like she fully knew what she was doing in that. This is gonna get me 2 minutes of backstory.
Dylan, what were your highlights?
I don't really like Erin that much, but my favorite moments in this episode were Erin-centric. I do love when they all start doing limboing, and Erin is just like fuming in the corner looking at them, and Jenna, who's decided she's on her side, but seems to be regretting it at that moment, just kind of smiling, watching them limbo, like, yeah, that looks like fun. And then it's just like, yeah, right, yeah, I've picked my side, so you want to play Connect 4?
Yeah.
I love that line reading. Like, I think I saw Connect 4.
And then I loved the counter editing of like how amplified boring the Connect 4 looked in comparison to Limbo. And like the fact that they're like new friend with the Limbo is like, this is how you make friends, by having fun. It's just like wah, Connect 4. I won, so and no one celebrates.
It was so good. So
we got the honey and vinegar at it.
Yeah. Totally. I also like when Erin goes and cries to her dad and is just totally exaggerating the story, and she's like, I literally took her sunglasses away for 2 minutes when previously she said 45 minutes in an hour, and it's like, and she smacked them off my face and stomped on them, and nobody has ever talked to me in such a mean way ever before in my life. And I actually believe that last part. I actually believe that that Erin's been so swaddled her life that that's the meanest anybody has ever been to her. It's just so yeah, I don't have a ton of sympathy for Erin, to be totally honest with you, especially because I love Ubah too, so I'm kind of on her side on this one.
And then we got that like sob story about how she was like bullied in middle school, being called Long Jaw Silver.
Yes, that was the biggest laugh moment for me in the episode. I laughed out loud when she's like fighting back tears and it's like, somebody bullied me in school because I had a long jaw. He called me Long Jaw Silver, and then that's her sob line. Oh my god, that's so good.
And
that's
then
so
I don't know if you noticed, like right after, the next shot of her was her basically like dislocating her jaw in order to like eat a huge bale of salad. It's like and then cut to commercial.
Just like an anaconda going in for a capybara, just unhinges. Oh my god. And you know what? That's a great burn too. Like whoever that kid was.
Yeah, I know.
Like great work, honestly.
Yeah. That's like, coming from a kid with older siblings for sure.
That kid is a seasoned master in bullying.
Younger sibling energy.
Not to glorify bullying or anything. Kids don't bully, but if you really have to, like the thing about bullying is that in addition to being like funny and cool, it's also like an outlet for creative expression, and you can always learn from the masters. And when I heard about this Long Jaw Silver kid, I just felt like I wish I was on those playgrounds at recess, the way I wish I could have like seen Gretzky play live in his prime. This guy must have been such a master.
Any other highlights from New York?
I don't know. I'm always just like saying that I love the way Ubah expresses herself, and was just really funny for me in this episode, being like, making some simile about if somebody put a fork in my ass, and it was just and then just saying like, I'm going to be 80 years old taking off people's sunglasses, like just refusing to back down on that. Decides that she's going to call Erin a liar for some reason, even though they don't really have to do with anything. And Erin's like, what was I lying about? Everything. And then later on, she's like, the lying thing is not true. You do cause problems. The lying thing, I just made it up. Like and the fact that after she takes her sunglasses and Jenna's like, can you give them back? She's like, I'm setting an alarm on my phone for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, that is such a good move. That is really funny.
Yeah, totally. I feel like Erin was so humorless in her handling of this situation. It was so funny to see Ubah like stick to her guns and be like, nope, the timer's going on. I'm going to treat you like a child.
Yeah. And also when she's listing off all these things Erin did, she's like, she's like, and you send emoji. Yeah, I thought that was really good.
I really appreciated that when they were all gathered in the hot tub, like kind of trying to watch from aside the fight that was happening. There was actual popcorn that they were eating. Yes. I really thought that was a really
that
nice
Sai was
touch.
eating anyways. Yeah. She was just going to town on it, which unsurprisingly,
and this comment about Jessel having her vault or her list, I'm really hoping that that's going to pay off. These are like little things that I always am super excited about being revealed in a season, because I'm waiting for the payoff where this is going to like come up and cause a problem. And Jessel definitely had a bit of a strategic misplay in letting it slip that she's got this list, and now that information is the property of everyone and it outweighs the actual contents of the list itself. It's definitely going to come back. I just can't wait for it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, she was saying that she doesn't have a list on everyone, but I don't buy that. She's definitely got a list on everyone.
I hope so. Yeah. And I do like it. I felt kind of like a weird moment for her to expose that information, because she was waiting for a moment to give it out. But when they're like driving in their little Jeep buggies, but it made for like a really dynamic scene. One issue with Housewives shows for me is that the scenes are just too static. They're just sitting around a table or sitting in a hot tub or something. So here we get to have this information being shared between two little vehicles like racing next to each other on a dirt road, which was kind of just a fun kinetic way to have that scene play out.
Yeah, totally.
Which also with those cars, after they left the beach bar, I was like, is Ubah just full on drunk driving on this show?
And no, Ubah doesn't drink.
I know. They made a point right away to reiterate, like, you're sober. Here's this. And I was like, okay, she is just bad at driving this.
She just has the kind of brain where she acts like she's drunk all the time, which is why it's probably a good thing she doesn't drink or smoke weed, because she tried that one time and ended up in the hospital. Yeah.
Awesome. Do either of you guys have any other final thoughts?
I just loved that the picture they chose for the selfie was one where Jessel's eyes were closed. I thought that was a nice touch to the whole Jessel arc of the episode.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for doing this, Rory. It's always a blast when we've got you on here. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
They can't. I deleted all my social media, so good luck. But my old sketch group has an album out called Mouth Beef by Hunks, and I'm proud of that. So go listen to that. It's on Bandcamp, hunkscomedy.bandcamp.com. What?
Oh boy. dirty boy.
But yeah, other than that, you can't find me, so don't even try.
That sounds like a challenge.
Dylan, how about yourself?
I'll keep mentioning my most recent thing, which is The Devil You Don't, a 4-part podcast series, which is kind of a history thing about the cryptid, the Jersey Devil, and various stories and themes from American history. All 4 parts are out now. Wherever you're listening to this, you should be able to find The Devil You Don't.
Awesome. Well, that's been Bravo Outsider for this week. You can find us online at Bravo Outsider on most social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Bravo Outsider, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Be sure to rate and review us. Leave a like. Tell your friends about us. Post online. Print out
Hire
flyers.
your local skywriter.
Yeah. Poster your town. Bravo Outsider.
Get a tattoo.
Until next week, keep on wifing.